tribal or regional.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television. We move straight to serve you the highlights of the headlines on today's national newspaper, and starting, of course, as usual, with the Daily Trust. The major headline today on the Daily Trust reads, as pilgrim stands on Arafat today, over 3,600 Nigerians miss this year's Hajj. Pilgrims board Ford NICOM over Botch rescue mission. Jais Bank meet intended pilgrims absorb self. Man performs pilgrim at Kano Hajj camp. Our loss unquantifiable. Tour operators NICOM explains glitch. You would see a picture there of some of the stranded intending pilgrim at the Hajj camp in Kano. And of course, the man, Malam Jibrin Audu, who pledged to have performed the Hajj in Kano. We saw a track-up of him earlier on Trust TV where he mentioned how he had paid over 2.5 million naira and had been in the Hajj camp for over 4 days, hoping for a last-minute miracle, but alas, that was not to happen. We even saw some persons shedding tears over the misery that they have had to go through on account of how the exercise was generally managed. You'll find the details of the story on page 4 of the This Day newspaper, and directly below those pictures on the front pages you have the belt, how attackers shared money preached before freeing Kuje inmates. What audacity, if you like, that was displayed by these guys. They seem to know this country far much more than some of us, I suppose, to have taking their time, to practically, it feels like a Nigerian movie, practically act out everything that they had intended and left without any resistance. It's amazing. It's a story that we cannot completely comprehend. And to think that people who are in charge of these facilities or these agencies are still keeping their jobs and providing explanations, that even makes the situation even more ridiculous, leaves so much to be desired. We have from the editor's pick, fake army chief who forged Buhari Obasanjo's signature, jailed 7 years. That's another audacious display by whoever it was. Court disqualifies Delta PDP governorship candidate. The details of that story is on page 32. 60-year-old guard charged with stealing church piano and TV, stealing from the house of God. Page 21. I'm sure the man will argue that allow God to judge my case, not after I stole from God. Right below the name marks, Northwest, Northeast, intensify push for APC VP slots. The details of that story is on page 31. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson resigns. Well, they say he resigns, but he's still in the house. Resign with a future date effect, whatever that means. 2023, Labour Party unveils Baba Ahmed as Obi's running mate. You'll find that details also on page 32. These are the major servings from the stables of Daily Trust this morning.
All right, the next newspaper we're going to be looking at is the Punch newspaper, which carries this major headline, Kuje prison invasion. Interpol gets fleeing inmates' data, border security heightened. And it comes with these riders, 4,300 inmates on the run after 18 jailbreaks. Lawan laments, ISWAP recruiting 5,000 fighters, says report, and Falana blames federal government. Still, other headlines on the front page of the Punch newspaper, going down the page. Salah, commuters groan as Lagos-Ibadan Expressway gridlock. And then kidnappers demand 20 million for Ekiti travelers. They hold priests. That story can be found on page 5. Over 940 Kano pilgrims stranded. Government hopeful. Well, today is Arafat. I don't know how hopeful the government is to actually airlift these pilgrims. Well, the story can be found on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Mark, present as UK court remands Ekweremadu. And that story is on page 6. Eid al-Kabir for FG declares Monday, Tuesday public holidays. That's on page 14. And driver remanded for throwing feces at LASMA official. And that is another story on page 4 of the Punch newspaper. Governorship court sacks Okowa's candidate, Ibori's loyalist wins. And going to the top of the page right now, marketers, depots fight over 16.6 billion liters of fuel diversion. That story is on page 20. Terrorists trooping southward, Akeredolu cries out. Oil companies reject federal government's penalties over gas flaring, and reps probes custom over auctioned PMS. Others. Now, these are the major stories on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
Moving on to Business Day to see what's happening in the business world this morning. The major stories here, of course, have some touch of politics and health. It says hospitals explore disease donor kidney transplant as cases rise in Nigeria and low living donation. Amidst low living donation. Basically, I think that is talking about taking organs from people who have moved on rather than waiting for somebody who has been alive to make those donations. Ekwere Madu, UK court says organ donor, not minor. I think that's one major hurdle that has been overcome by the embattled former Deputy Senate President. The second major headline on the stables of Business Day this morning is why PIA hasn't attracted investments to Nigeria. And this is according to the international oil companies. Boris Johnson's resignation holds lessons for Nigeria. If you want to know who's saying that, you pick up a copy of Business Day. 5 steps to transfer your PVCs online. Some very veritable education amidst preparations for the 2023 elections. Experts to discuss precious metals at Business Day breakfast meeting. You find the details of that on page 31. And inside details of the unpaid petrol bridging claim. That's some major scandal there as far as the Nigerian petroleum story is concerned. These are the major servings from the stables of Business Day this morning.
All right, the next newspaper we're looking at is The Guardian newspaper, and it carries this major headline: NAFDAC joins Research Institute strike, food safety threatened. And it comes with these riders: Agric, Medical, Water, Soil Institutes paralyzed. Absence of NAFDAC at ports spells doom for food, drug safety, and port congestion worsens, products approval delayed. And still talking The Guardian, looking at the top of the page, Okupe withdraws as Obi VP pick. Court disqualifies Delta PDP candidate. Catholic priest abducted in Benue, and 9 die, 12 injured in Kaduna Zaria road crash. And details of that story can be found on page 8 of The Guardian. Flutterwave false money laundering claims in Kenya. That is another interesting story to actually take a look at. And the feature story right here is towards making Nigeria's football league competitive, profitable. Now that is that's quite an interesting one. That story can be found on page 4 and 5. It is the main feature of The Guardian newspaper. And then lastly, at the bottom of the page, insecurity. Sultan calls for prayer. Lawan blames insider conspiracy in Kuji jailbreak. Now, these are the major headlines on the front page of The Guardian newspaper.
We move on now to Blueprint newspaper. And the major headline on Blueprint reads, Kuje jailbreak. US, UK alert citizens of more attacks. Nigerian Senate flares. Borno, Yobe, Adama, Gombe, Kaduna, others identified as hotspot. Lawmakers decry lack of CCTV, other tracking gadgets in facility. Security personnel comb 100-kilometer radius for escapees. Catholic priest kidnapped in Benue. You'll find also pictures of the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue standing amidst other people who had come to pay him a courtesy call yesterday. And just below the name marks, NATCOM 2022 Hajj turbulence. Commission's boss never abandoned pilgrims. According to the commission, the bus never abandoned pilgrims. Fate of 650 intending Kano pilgrims uncertain. Nagosa, high exchange rate, cost of fuel scarcity, 6 energy bank. Interesting. These days, it does appear that every crisis we meet, we want an institution created specifically to solve that problem. More stories coming here from Blueprint. Only 84,803 of the 3.2 million refugees in Nigeria are registered. That's according to the federal government. NAMI charges professional bodies on contribution to tax development in Nigeria. NGE, MPAN, NUJ, IPR vow to resist attempt to stifle press freedom. And more from the cover. Salah, FG declares Monday, Tuesday public holiday. Karota deploys 1,500 in Kanu. NSCDC 800 in Sokoto. Sultan urges Muslims to fast, pray for peace on Arafat Day. You'll find the details of that on page 9. Organ harvesting, victim not a minor. That's according to the UK court. Misconduct, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson bows to pressure, resigns. And gunmen kidnapped 4 in Ekiti, demand 20 million naira ransom. That's the much we have from Blueprint newspaper this morning.
All right, the next newspaper we're taking a look at is the Nation newspaper, which carries this major headline on the front page. Kuje attack, Senate shocked by no CCTV, porous security. And the riders here that accompanied that story. Ndume urges sanctions for those who failed in their duties. Prisons not designed to resist external attacks, says Minister, and Buhari summons emergency security meeting. Those are the riders supporting the major headline on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Moving to the top of the page, Ekweremadu, organ donor, not a minor, UK court rules. And how to achieve global economic recovery by the World Bank. That story can be found on page 5. Editors, proprietors reject attempts to gag media, and court disqualifies Delta PDP governorship candidate. And moving down the page, Oshun 2022, 4 injured as PDP APC supporters clash in Ede. Kwankwaso presents flag to NMPP candidate, and students endorse Oyetola Adeleke. Oyetola and Adeleke says, I won't let Obas down. Well, these are the stories concerning the Oshun 2022 governorship election. And Boris Johnson quits to remain as British caretaker prime minister. Well, he has resigned, but he will remain as the British caretaker prime minister for the foreseeable future until an election. That doesn't make him a placeholder prime minister.
We just keep saying new things as far as politics are concerned.
Yeah, so those are the major headlines on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning.
And quickly, we will take Nigeria News Direct, and the major headlines there, it's rising subsidy. We won't be able to pay salaries. Governors lament. Call for accountability, transparency of oil, gas revenues. Nigeria's heading towards bankruptcy. Barrister Madaki. Give local refinery operations a chance, and that is according to a Hindero. You'll find pictures there of the Lagos State Governor and the Office of the Head of Service, posing there for, I think, an award to some civil servants in the state. NIPRC collaboration with NCC on National Integration Base Solution. Whatever that is, you'll find the details on the Nigeria News Direct. Oshogbo Progressive Union, Indigens, and those Oyetola for second term. Privatization, 16 firms pre-qualify for national power projects, and this is according to the BP. That's the much we can take from the Nigeria News Direct this morning.
Well, and that wraps it up for the headlines this morning on Daybreak. When we we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll dive deep into the analysis of those headlines that we've just looked at this morning. So do stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that they look at the same, not necessarily tribal or regional. Because I have said that.
Welcome back to Daybreak on Trust Television. If you're just joining us, it's that newspaper review segment. And we have it us in the studio, again, my friend and brother, a regular with us here on Trust TV. And I'm talking about no other than the editor of 21st Century Chronicle. I was speaking slowly not to elevate him again and have him reject the position. But I'm sure as an editor, he's not a placeholder. He's the substantive editor of 21st Century Chronicle, Malem Nuruddin Abdallah. Happy Arafat, and thanks for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
I hope, like you, or rather, like the man in Kano, you did not perform your own pilgrimage.
Your Hajj.
I'll pray.
I mean, you can't spend 2.5 million naira and not feed your psyche with some kind of information that at least that money did not go in vain. But we have seen how everything had panned out. Today is Arafat. They are still assuring some people that they will still get into the kingdom of Saudi Arabia early enough to, I mean, what's Hajj without Arafat? How would you evaluate? I mean, this is going to be, we're going to be discussing this in detail, but just for the serving at this time, how would you evaluate how everything had gone as far as the airlifting of pilgrim is concerned for this year's Hajj?
It's unfortunate. It is not only the airlifting as well. Unfortunately, the leadership in the Hajj Commission, has reverted the country back to maybe 12 years ago. When last did you see pilgrims protesting that they were abandoned? Certainly, more than 12 years ago. We are past that stage, and we are happy that we actually did. But unfortunately, it's an accumulation of so many factors. One, with all humility, the naivety and inexperience of the current leadership. That is one. And secondly, unfortunately, their inexperience and incompetence has been garnished with greed and cluelessness. These are the three factors. You watch a lady yesterday, a video footage at the Abuja airport. At the dying minute, these pilgrims, they kept on, they flew from Lagos. They're supposed to be airlifted from Lagos. They came to Abuja, and they collected 750,000 again. Less than 24 hours to the closure of the Jeddah airport after 2 extensions. The last time that Saudi Arabia authorities gave Nigeria extension was more than 10 years ago. Like I said, the issue of airlifting has been tackled. Now, issue of visa. The worst part of it is even private tour operators. Those that normally have the issue are the state pilgrims. But unfortunately, even tour operators. And what is the problem? With the COVID protocol in Saudi Arabia, now what the tour operators are doing, we call the Hajj through groupings of 50. And you have to send your money to Hajj Commission, the CBN account, the TSA account, the Narcon TSA account, and CBN, for onward transmission to Saudi authorities, and they will credit you guys. More than 100 tour operators were not credited. Therefore, you can access a visa, you can pay for accommodation in Mecca, you can pay for local transport, and you can pay for Mashair services. Mashair is Mina, Arafah, and the transport I want to feel. So particularly, and unfortunately, again, you saw a drama at the Abuja airport. The national chairman of Hajj Commission left. I told him for the Kano, yes. He didn't go. And he stepped back with his directors. Pilot is the last to leave an aircraft in case of an emergency. But he just abandoned them and go. That shows you how clueless and very insensitive these are people.
But when you talk about the Hajj Commission, it is a Hajj Commission, meaning it has one job, which is to facilitate the Hajj operations. I think that is the main thing. You have just one job to do, and this thing happens once a year. What possible excuse could they have had for this current debacle?
There is not any possible excuse. They came in 2019. There was no Hajj in 2020. They just relaxed. You report it. The chairman and his commissioners were busy. They are building a Jumu'at mosque at the National Health Commission. When I'm talking about misplaced priority, you know what that means. A shouting distance from a Jumu'at mosque at the National War College. And look at the globetrotting they were doing. They were in Ghana to do one training or the other. I remember early this year, an NGO, a Hajj-based NGO, Independent Hajj Reporters, had a course to write them. There is no single guideline. There is likelihood that this 2020 there is going to be Hajj. What is NACON doing as the apex regulator? We are talking about Hajj fair. What are the likely changes that the Saudi authorities will introduce? But unfortunately, again, you know, they thought that it's a tea party. We saw what the situation was when Hajj, before the creation of NACON, when Hajj was a directorate under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have all these problems. But with the enactment of the NACON Act, for almost 4 years, we had this issue of abandoning pilgrims, Nigerian pilgrims protesting in Saudi Arabia, and we are going to see that this year.
Yes,
4 years after.
For the ones that actually went.
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's the same thing. It's almost the same thing. And I don't even know why they are so that selfish, you understand? There is always a backup for rescue. We call it rescue operation. 3 airlines were earmarked for the operation. One had problem. You don't sit down. You have to find other means. If it involves getting another aircraft outside the tree, that's what you should do. I remember in 2008, I left for Hajj from Kaduna with the Indonesian airline because there was crisis. The then ES of Kaduna had to come to Abuja, straight to the villa. I remember Captain Iyal was the presidential advisor on aviation. They deploy an Indonesian airline and they do the rescue. But this time around, they said there is going to be rescue operation, and there was no rescue at all. Look at what happened in Kano. People are having even psychological problems. Look at the causes all over the place. 43,000 pilgrims. Before COVID, we are lifting 80,000 pilgrims to Hajj. And the worst is even you abandon, you move away from the state because, you know, bureaucracy and what have you. To our operators, they had the largest chunk for an offense that is not theirs. They paid this money. What, for 2 weeks, NACON did not credit the Saudi authorities. You can't even reach the commissioners. They just don't pick calls at the peak of operation. So, you know, they took us back 12 years. It's most unfortunate. Look at that. That guy has psychological problem in Kano. They're saying that, yes, he has sold his house, sold a farmland to go to Hajj. And look at what happened now. With even the Jais arrangement. I saw the Jais, but Jais is culpable.
Yes. Moving away from that, we will get a bit more details of this as the shows continue this morning. We are beginning to see more and more revelations from the way and manner the attack in Kuje was conducted. We saw the condemnation by the Senate President and members of his delegation, and the revelation that this prison facility, in fact, did not have a CCTV in 2022. You know, so much. We now hear that even the terrorists were sharing money and even had time to preach, you know, before they left the facility. with the benefit of a hindsight now, what do you make of that whole incident, from Kuje to the president's visit and now the Senate president visit and all the revelations that have trailed it?
They are all expected, Mr. Sunday. Expected. Just the Nigerian choreographed comedy. You read so many headlines. You read top government officials visiting, shedding crocodile tears and what have you. But there is one story that is missing. How many prison officials were suspended?
If they were.
Kuje is in the federal capital, which is protected by the elite military unit, the Brigade of Guards. In Guagolada, they have a barracks there, just like they do have in Zuba, just like they do have in Wakane if you are coming from Buhari, just like they do have from Kefi down to Abacha barracks, I want to feel. But the ragtag terrorists, Okada riding terrorists, parachuted themselves, right? Is that what we're saying? They operated, they didn't, it wasn't burgling. It wasn't like a thief in the neighborhood stealing meat from the pot, what have you. So he doesn't want, no. They detonated at least, from the reports, 12 explosives, gunshots. They operated for 3 hours without single resistance. No security agent fired a single shot towards them. And they left. Look at even the building. These are maximum, this is a medium security prison, where you keep Boko Haram terrorists. And up to now, even the president was shocked. So what I'm saying here is this, we are never serious. Like the train attack, like the Owo church attack, like the Kuje attack, no official will be held accountable. Yeah, now they will go there. It's an opportunity for some officials now to make money from the contracts. The National Assembly people are now sharpening their knives. You say, bring the budget, we will approve it for CCTV. So what it simply means is nobody will be held accountable. So we'll see more of this. So now, which target is next? This is Abuja. This is not one Geshua facility in Yobe. This is not one facility in Ilela or Kwari in Sokoto. This is not one facility in Gamborungala or Bama or Goza. This is the federal capital. And if they can perfect this operation around 10, by midnight, they are done. No arrests. They said that they recaptured. They didn't recapture anybody. People went for when they said they should go based on the revelations, the inmates left. But they came back. But Boko Haram experts are gone. That is being lent credence to some speculations that, it was actually an exchange with because the federal government is helpless, completely helpless. They can't rescue the 51 hostages being held by the terrorists. And most of those in government, they still need the train. So they want the train to come back. So now, okay, come. We can't hand over them to you, but come and do operation, we'll look the other way. So it's unfortunate. I want the security chiefs fired. Let the president do this, at least for once. Let's see how effective it will be, so that everybody will sit up. This is Abuja.
Well, it is quite unfortunate. Well, another issue apart from security is something I always think about Sunday when this when this comes up. Fuel queues. They're still here, and we're still getting fingers pointed at different people from different places. Every day you hear something new. It's either bridging claims, it's either monies that were supposed to be paid that were not paid, it's either transport claims that were not supposed to be paid. And still, I ask this, is there any end in sight?
There won't be any end until the government leaves. No, that is the bitter reality. And the full implementation of the PIA, particularly the deregulation aspect, which the government stopped. You can eat your cake and have it again. I don't know, Sunday, you remember when Buhari came and, he said that he deregulated the sector, We say you can't deregulate and put a cap. No. You can't deregulate and put a cap. You can't ask MTN, Airtel, Glo, that, okay, this should be the...
What you can charge.
No. They pay you, right? You just put conditions. If MTN, let them, I think the average now is 4 naira per SMS, right? Let them charge 20 naira and see how many people, if people not deactivate their lines. Create the enabler environment. Put regulatory frameworks. But they did it, and that was the beginning of the confusion. You are not giving people dollar. You say you deregulate, but PEF, petroleum equalization, whatever was there. PPRA was still there. What type of confusion is this? After all, the president doesn't have an economic advisor, and he has zero understanding of the economics. Yeah, exactly, that's it. So that is it. And moving forward now, we held him seriously when he assented to the PIA. But political considerations took advantage of the situation, and they stopped it. And that's why it's a continuous conundrum. Now it's not subsidy you are paying, right? It's under recovery. Which is taking away the largest chunk. Some months it takes away what they've been in NNPC recovered. So the people in Yobe, Jigawa, Ikiti, Kogi, Lafia, and whatever, you cannot even get the fact. So that is it. And this will continue. Until maybe after elections and,
And the new government.
and maybe if we have a serious government. Because the issue is simple. If you want to shoot, and let's forget about it.
All right.
I think this is the much we can take on the newspaper review, but let me salivate your appetite a bit by letting you know that we are not letting Nurudin go, so you'll hear more from him on the other side of the clock.